Hey everyone, welcome to Roast the Post, the story behind the bullet points. I'm Paul Austin Manier, and I think job postings are a decoder ring for the hidden secrets of an organization. A posting might be trying to describe a role, but it usually describes the company, the clarity, the chaos, and the blind spots, even more. Every week, Jen and I take a real job post and open it up to see what's actually going on behind the scenes. Is it a thoughtful role with a clear purpose, or is it a wish list duct taped together by committee and quietly begging for help? We don't assume. We read, we analyze, and we call it like we see it. If you're a job seeker, this show helps you understand what you're really walking into before you hit apply. And if you're one of the job seekers, you'll get a front row view for how job postings you wrote land with people who aren't already sitting inside your org chart. One of us brings a posting the other hasn't seen, we react in real time, and we wrap it up with our individual scores. Two different lenses, equally unfiltered. All right, let's roast. All right, so we are here in our virtual studio, Jen and I, and this week we're going to talk about a pretty common, pretty basic job posting. And for the folks at home, Jen has not seen this. I kind of found it myself, and I'm going to drop it on her, and she's going to be in the hot seat to tell us what she thinks from that HR kind of perspective. Jen, welcome. How are you doing? Good weekend?
Good weekend, busy weekend. Thank you. Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, without further ado, this job is for a marketing coordinator.
Okay.
Very, very commonplace. Tons of companies have them, if not all companies. Bit of a profile about the company. So this company is a privately held company. They are based in Aurora, Ontario, which is kind of out like Brampton way for the folks who are in Ontario and kind of know it. For folks who are international, not really familiar with that part of Canada, Aurora, Brampton, Mississauga, they're in Peel region. They are just north of Toronto, which is the most populous city in the country. This company works in the consumer packaging industry. Their head office is in Aurora, like I mentioned. The working location and type for this job is also in Aurora. This is a full-time permanent role where you're expected to be in the office 5 days a week. They have clients in Canada and the United States. And we do not know what the job title of the supervisor is for this role.
Okay.
So that sets the stage. Now, what I'm going to do for the folks at home is I'm going to read out each section of the job posting to Jen and ask her what she thinks about it from her perspective and experience of many years working in HR and people operations.
I'm excited. I've got my notebook. I'm going to take notes.
Let's get started. Okay, first section, position summary. The marketing coordinator will support marketing initiatives with support and ownership of our sample coordination program. In this role, they will contribute to marketing collaterals, events, cross-department projects, while also ensuring that our customers, brokers, and sales team receive timely, professional, and branded samples that showcase and highlight our products. What did you think about that section? Kind of short compared to some.
Very short. That's a really nice short intro. And so far from what I'm reading, it really speaks to a coordinator level. So they're using a lot of language like supports, which to me is a good match for a coordinator entry level type position. They mention ownership of a type of program, support and ownership. So that's a little bit ambiguous to me. What part are they supporting? What part are they owning? But hopefully the rest of the job posting will go into that a little bit more. What are your thoughts?
It's basic. I don't hate it. One thing that drives me a little bit nuts is when companies, and this is usually companies that have like marketing departments that think about branding and how we're perceived and the whole global brand thing. They put in a lot of fluff and they try and jam into that position summary everything about the company. what the company does and what their hopes and aspirations are. And it's completely irrelevant for someone looking for a job. It's like it's a waste of time. It really just kind of happens to kind of pat yourself on the back like, "Ooh, I work for this fantastic, amazing company." There's a place for that in
Yeah,
employer branding, but the summary, that ain't the place. So this was nice. It was nice and short, and it was to the point. That was good.
agreed. Agreed.
Next section. So this is what they've done with this job posting is they've kind of broken down everything into responsibilities, and there's tons and tons and tons of bullet points. So we're going right from the summary into what the job responsibilities are. Next section, job responsibilities.
There's no about the company to kind of
Know
like
about the company.
bridge into it. Okay, cool.
Not there is no about the company here. They get right into the meat of it. So, job responsibilities: marketing support, draft, design, edit, and manage marketing collaterals, sell sheets, brochures, digital ads, support distribution of marketing collateral to customers and brokers, update product information such as packaging, product descriptions in marketing portals and database, consolidate and finesse PowerPoint presentation decks, ensure accuracy and consistency of messaging across accounts and channels, act as a second set of eyes for packaging review and approvals to ensure final sign-off, all other administrative tasks as required. Job responsibilities continuing on: sample coordination, process and track daily sample requests from sales, brokers, and customers, assemble and brand sample kits with correct labels, inserts, and packaging, coordinate with marketing and sales to prepare mock-ups for presentations, monitor and replenish sample inventory, anticipate upcoming needs, and finally, arrange courier shipments and confirm timely delivery for customer meetings and trade shows. Now, I'm going to break there. There are more job responsibilities, but let's talk about those two sections. What did you think?
Okay, I like this job posting so far. This to me is really it sounds like there are a lot of bullet points. I going into a job, I would rather know all of the things that I'm in for. So on that end, I'm okay with it. I like the language. The language still to me, it's true to the job title. A lot of times there's a big gap between the job title. Like they're not generous on the job title, but with the responsibilities, it's like here are all the things you have to do, and there's a big gap there. To me, they're still using the right language, like support. I like how they talk about finessing, like zhuzhing things up, and things like various administrative tasks. That's okay with me. Anticipate upcoming needs. That's what I would want to see in this role as well. So far, I really like it. I think that it's a pretty dope job posting. What about you? What don't you like, Paul? What do
PowerPoint
you hate about
text.
it?
PowerPoint text. Uh,
Yeah.
so it's interesting to me that they are calling out PowerPoint presentation decks specifically, and that tells me that there's a sales process in place that is I don't want to say like archaic, because not, but it's a little bit old school.
Yeah.
So like you're putting together a deck and you're like jazzing it up and whatever. Like let's give that to the young 20-something that knows how the technology works. Like
Yeah.
it gives me that kind of vibe where I would expect something like that to be more about the functions. Like I would have said, or the function. I would have said something like, consolidate and finesse sales presentations. And then that kind of says like, however we present, we're going to kind of fix it up, make it good, whatever. The presentation with PowerPoint thing, it tells me that they're very locked into that kind of old school sales thing. And that would stick out of my brain because there are some potentially issues that come along with that. Like there could be cultural stuff. This really tells me that this is like a long running company that's established, maybe not so innovative, which for someone like me would drive me absolutely nuts. Like I wouldn't dig working in that kind of environment. So for someone else who is kind of the same and kind of wants innovation and fresh things, might be a warning flag. But I would not consider it enough of a warning flag to like ditch this and toss it in the bin right now.
I like that insight. I think it's interesting that like so you judge a book by its office tools, right? Like you're saying, if they're using PowerPoint, they're old school. I think that's interesting. It'll be interesting to see a little bit more about like what kind of, if they share what kind of environment it is, because you're right though. It might mean that they're an older company, that they're using the same tools that they've always used, and they're not going to be open to introducing new and innovative software technology. Who knows though? Who knows? I feel like it's a bit too early to say that, but I like where you're going with that. I've worked
I
at a
mean,
company before that was using like the Google suite, and due to the work that they were doing with their clients and accessibility and like safety or just type of like compliance issues, they changed to using Office 365, and nobody was happy about it, but everyone understood why that change was made. So I think that there's sometimes that happens too.
yeah, and there's something to call out here. For anybody at home who was kind of like, who's this Jen person? You called out a bias right there that I didn't even fully kind of recognize that I had until you called it out. Yeah, I do very much judge a book by its technology systems.
Yeah.
I come from an operations background, very, very heavy in ICT. Like I was one of the people who was leading the architecture, design, and implementation of systems. And I've always been biased towards more kind of technology and flexibility and extensibility forward systems. So anytime I came across like a Word doc, I'd be like, come on, what are we doing?
Yes. What year
But
is
you're,
it?
what year is it? But you're right. I did kind of link those two things together subconsciously. So maybe that's my bad. We'll see. Next
Well,
section.
but I don't think you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. I hate using PowerPoint, but I'm a Canva person personally. But to each their own. Who knows? Who
Yep,
knows?
absolutely. Next section. And this is continuing on with job responsibilities. Uh, uh, Customer slash product complaint management.
Ooh, sorry.
Record.
Didn't even wait for that one. I didn't even wait.
I think that you're going to have some things to say about this. That is good. I like it.
Oh, my apologies.
Maybe I'll read the bullet points now.
Yeah.
Okay, customer and product complaint management. Record and maintain product complaint logs for reporting and process improvement. Collaborate with CS, QA, OPPS, CS slash QA slash OPPS to resolve product or delivery issues. Draft professional responses to customers and document resolutions. Now we're gonna break here because you just had that visceral reaction. What do you think?
I did, but I feel like they turned the ship. I think I reacted a little bit too soon. They're not saying you have to deal with all of this. They're saying that you have to, you will collaborate with certain teams. So I feel a little bit better about that. It also mentions something about drafting responses. It doesn't necessarily say you're the one who has to give the responses, and you're logging things. So I do feel a little bit better. Right away, I just felt like, please, let's not harm this poor, sweet baby angel marketing coordinator with having to deal with things that just really they shouldn't have to. So I do feel a little bit better. I apologize to this company for that knee-jerk reaction. I just want to protect everyone. That's all.
So what? Let's pull something out from what you said there. Kind of summarizing all of that, what you've said is that, and this kind of links to a conversation about accountability and authority. So what you're saying is that it doesn't sound like this company is putting everything on this person's shoulders. So they're not going to be expected to, deal with the customer stuff themselves. Like that authority and accountability isn't being wholesale shifted to them, which if it were the case, it would be totally inappropriate for this type of role, right? Like an entry-level marketing coordinator dealing with really angry customers, that ain't good. But that's not what's happening here.
That's not what's happening. They're getting a line of sight, which is so important for their learning as they develop in the organization, maybe in the organization, they need to know what kind of complaints are coming in from customers, product complaints. So this is actually, to me, a really good way for them to gain that insight and learn. But like you said, they're not responsible for it. It's not all on their shoulders. So I'm not mad at this.
Mhm, mhm. One thing that I probably would have changed with this is the acronyms, CS, QA, OPPS. People might not know what those are. Like I would have written them out as customer service, maybe CS in brackets, quality assurance, maybe QA in brackets. OPPS, I am not quite sure what that is. Is
I
that
just
a
like I knew
acronym?
what that was. I don't know what
Yeah.
PPS is. So you're right. You're right about that.
Is it supposed to be operations but with an extra P for some reason? I don't know. But what's OPPS?
I have, maybe it's just an ode to the old Bobby Brown song. I have no idea. But I will say that just like you mentioned, this is a good call out using acronyms. It doesn't work in job postings, even though one might assume, well, then you're not the right person for this role if you don't know what these mean. Sure, like you could say that, but companies have their own pattern language too. So it very well could be something that they're using just in-house. It's something to keep in mind. The other thing is the same goes for your resume. So you shouldn't be using your acronyms in resumes either. You should be listing out the words so that the person reading it, screening it can understand what it is that you're talking about. It might be relevant to the role. It might not be, but we don't know what we don't know. So list things out completely.
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing else really for me to say other than yes. Agreed. Next section. Oh, you know what? There was something else I was going to say on that one. So the fact that there are acronyms in there, and it's kind of written out with this really to the point bullet point structure, tells me that at the very least there was someone extremely operations minded, either putting in input to this post or they wrote it themselves. So that suggests to me that this process, the job posting, wasn't just kind of like thrown on somebody's desk without context saying like, hey, I need a marketing coordinator, write me a job post. Like I think there was input from someone who knows what the F they're doing, which I think is kind of a good sign.
That's such a good observation. You're right. This reads to me as someone who actually like has insight into it. I have one more thing to say too. I wrongly attributed the song OPP to Bobby Brown, but it's Naughty by Nature. Apologies.
I knew it.
All you're like, didn't want to say it, didn't want to call her out. Call me out, man. I got it wrong. It's Naughty by Nature, not Bobby
Yeah,
Brown.
we're just going to confiscate your cool person card. I
I
mean, cool person
know.
from 20 years ago, but whatever.
Right? It matters. It matters to me.
All right, let's move on.
Okay.
So the next section, this is still job responsibilities. It's cross-department coordination. Bullet
Okay.
points. Act as liaison between marketing, sales, production, and logistics. Ensure artwork and packaging approvals are properly routed and signed off. Then another one, data and reporting responsibilities. Compile monthly, quarterly reports on sample requests and costs. Track sample budgets and highlight variances. And then the last bullet point is analyze data to identify trends, top SKUs, and customer needs. Next section, responsibilities again, event support. Track sample budgets and highlight variances. And the last bullet point in that section is analyze data to identify trends, top SKUs, and customer needs. And we'll break here before continuing on. What did you think of it?
I do like that there's a section that is about cross collaboration. I think that's important for people to understand what other departments they're going to have to be interacting with within their role. Words like liaison work well to me in line with the role level. Something that stood out was something ensure sign off on. And to me, that reads as a little bit of like herding cats, right? Like, oh, dang, this poor person is going to have to ensure people in other departments are signing off on things. That's going to be a challenge. So hopefully they're given some kind of like, I don't know, authority or some kind of ability to chase people down. Hopefully these are responsive departments, because like that just sucks. That's hard to do. Analyzing data, same. I'm not too concerned about it. If they have proper training, that shouldn't be an issue. They can always use good old chat GPT to help them with that. And then the event support too. Yeah, I mean, the list is growing. It's getting a little bit, it's increasing in complexity, this role, to me, but it's still, I don't see any major issues, but really curious what you have to say about it.
Herding cats,
Yeah.
yeah, herding cats is absolutely what comes out of that. And this company is they're producing packaging for other products. So it's kind of like it's a consumer products company, but through B2B channels. Like, you know, they're making like boxes and packaging for different things, selling it to their customers, who then package their products in it and turning it on to end consumers. So it's a part of that value chain. In that world, one little mistake in printing
Right.
on the packaging, or you know, something that is just a little bit off, the specs are out of tolerance for that packaging, and you absolutely just blow your profit margin out of the water. Because if you print a run of 250,000, let's say, boxes for something, and you know, like a logo or a company name is misspelled, or there's something missing from a compliance standpoint on a word mark, you got to redo that, and that's money out the door. So what these companies that are involved in this tend to do is they have these multiple eyes, excuse me, they have these processes that they call like second eyes, third eyes, like one off checks, two off checks, whatever. So you literally just have different sets of eyes looking at samples in your production facility, and you're like, yeah, that looks, yeah, that, no, oh no, that's spelled wrong, like we need to change that, like give me a marker, let's mark it up. It absolutely works like that. And these organizations, they always need one person to run around and collect input from the different sets of eyes. So it happens like that, and it's an institutionalized thing. The fact that you kind of picked up on that is really interesting to me, because herding cats is 100% the way you describe that.
Absolutely. A couple of things on what you just said. So one, we talked about acronyms, and you did mention B2B, which I'm sure everybody listening knows what that means. But for clarity, B2B, you're referring to business, right? Okay.
Yep.
And then the other thing that I was going to mention was, does this job description, job posting, still read to you as marketing? It still reads to me as coordinator, but does it still read to you as marketing, or have we started to like creep a little bit? Just curious. I can't answer that. I think it's still on track, but curious to hear what you think about that.
This is a marketing coordinator job, but it is a marketing and coordinator job.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
it's very, and I was kind of starting to think that too. Like, there's a lot more happening here that goes beyond marketing. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially if this is an entry level role. Like, if you think about someone who is just out of college or university, you know, this is like their first job, maybe their second job,
Yeah.
and they would really benefit from exposure to a wide range of activities inside an organization. It's great having that kind of creep, especially if their personality lines up with it, and they're excited to, like, you know, do something different with their day, or they've got a little professional ADD where they don't want to be doing the same thing all the time. You know, it totally works. But you're right, this is far beyond like a marketing coordinator role as we might think about it for a more mature organization.
I love the way you describe that. It's marketing and coordinator. I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next section. This section is soft skills. So we're out of the job responsibilities, we're into soft skills. Bullet points: creativity and initiative, brings fresh ideas for marketing initiatives, presentations, and event execution, semicolon, takes proactive ownership of projects and seeks opportunities to add value. Next bullet point, marketing mindset, understands branding, customer engagement, and the importance of aligning all materials and presentations with company standards. Next bullet point, communication, communicates clearly and persuasively in both written and oral form, semicolon, adapts messaging to suit customers, brokers, and internal teams. Next bullet point, attention to detail / quality control ensures accuracy and consistency in samples, presentations, and marketing collateral. Next bullet point, adaptability, adjusts quickly to shifting priorities, deadlines, and unexpected challenges, semicolon, thrives in a dynamic environment. Next bullet point, interpersonal skills, builds positive relationships with team members, brokers, and customers, semicolon, maintains professionalism and demonstrates openness to learning. Next bullet point, planning and organization, prioritizes tasks effectively, manages multiple projects simultaneously, and maintains an organized workflow in a fast-paced environment. Next bullet point, problem solving, identifies issues quickly, proposes solutions, and escalates when necessary. Next bullet point, dependability. Dependability. Reliable in attendance and execution, semicolon, follows through on commitments, responds to feedback, and supports team and company goals. That is the section. What did you think of that?
That's a lot. Okay, so what I liked was it felt as though those soft skills were a good reflection of the responsibilities. Like they interconnect. They're not disconnected, disjointed. You're not looking at it like, what does this have to do with the role? So I liked that about it. It felt long and a bit unnecessary as a result because the responsibilities are pretty detailed. A couple of the red flags for me were adjust quickly to shifting priorities, which again, better to be honest about it, but they're telling you something, right? If that's a requirement for your soft skills, it means it's happening. So just be prepared to be told one day, 1 hour that you're doing something, and then the next to do something else. I found a lot of times with more junior employees, in my experience, when you're shifting priorities, when they spend a lot of time and effort on something only to be told we're going a different direction, it's really demotivating. If you're new, that's hard. And it might mean that the next time you're asked to do something, you don't put as much of yourself into it. As you get older and more experienced, you get used to it and you're like, yeah, whatever. We just completely changed our entire product. I can adjust, but when you're more junior, earlier in your career, that's tough. So that does require some kind of resilience. Thrives in dynamic environment is another way of saying what I just said, right? Like dynamic environment means that things are going to be changing a lot. Fast-paced environment was used as well. So those are all, to me, just warning, not red flags, but just warning signs. Like read something into it because they are telling you that things are going to shift quickly for you, that it is fast-paced, that it is a dynamic environment. And so prepare yourself for that. Be like mentally and emotionally prepared. Don't take it personally. Don't stop trying. But again, speaking to more junior people, it can be demotivating. Don't let it be. It happens. It's going to continue happening. And the more you can like roll with the punches, the better it's going to serve you in the long run in the future. So that's those are my thoughts, my long rambling thoughts about that section. My thoughts were just as long as that freaking section was. So there you go.
It was long. It was long. And I haven't seen many job postings that like list off soft skills that they want, and B, go into this much detail. And if you had asked me about this 10 years ago, I would have looked at it and said, why is that even there? Like this is all stuff that every person coming into the workforce should have these skills. But there are two kind of things that stick in my brain now when like asked that kind of question. One, it's not as common. Education has changed, like COVID changed a lot of things
Yeah.
for folks. So people who are coming into the workforce now, they're different. And that's not to say worse, it just means different. They don't have some of the background learning and some of the context of the workplace that that previous generations or people who are slightly older would have. So it's not awful that the soft skills are listed off, but I think that this is mispositioned a bit. The
Mm.
value here in this section and this level of detail isn't in saying we need these soft skills from you. So if you're not this person, don't bother. Because let's face it, how are you going to test for these as an
Yes.
employer,
Yeah.
especially in the interview? Like, how are you going to test for adaptability? How are you going to test someone's ability to shift quickly from changing priority to changing priority? Like, come on. So this would have been better positioned as, hey, this is what your job's going to look like. This is the environment. This is kind of a description of what things will be like. Do you dig it? And if you went
Yes.
at it like that, you would find some people who are like, yeah, I dig this. This is cool.
Yes, Paul, you're absolutely right. It is more about them telling you this is the environment that you're going to be working in. This is the system in which we operate. Are you in or out? I absolutely agree. Instead of positioning it as like what you need to have, it's more like this is our environment. Love it. I agree. I agree. That would be a really good tweak for the role posting. And I also think more companies could benefit from that as well.
Yeah,
Just
that
talking about their environment.
yeah, that mindset about the org and what it's like
Yeah,
to work in there, that's missing from so much of the like
absolutely.
job posting recruitment world. Like, you know, it's like you're going fishing in a lake at night and your eyes are closed. Like you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yet you need to catch something. Like what?
Yes. And it's dangerous. And don't do that.
Yes, yeah. People at home who have boats and fishing rods and a six pack on the dock, like don't go out after dark. That ain't cool.
No, no. Be safe. Stay safe.
One other thing about this section that came to mind for me, and you kind of called it out too, is like the shifting priorities. So I read this one: adjust quickly to shifting priorities, deadlines, and unexpected challenges. Thrives in a dynamic environment. You know, cool, fair. I read that as the director of sales is going to come and tap on your shoulder at 10 a.m. with a little project that they need you to do that nobody told you about. And at 12:35, the assistant to the CEO is going to come in and say, "Hey, where's that presentation that the boss needs? Oh, you didn't get that email? Did you check your junk mail? We need that at 2 p.m."
Yeah. Yeah.
I read
Absolutely.
this as that, and that's going to be a little bit stressful. So if you see a line like this, be prepared for to get real people who are looking for jobs.
I think you're right. I think it's really about what does that mean? Like, what is that code for? What is an example of this in action? I think that that's really, really helpful for people to try to like just just think on that. Let that marinate a little bit because they're listing it. It's important. What does that mean in practice?
Yeah, and even if you don't think that they think it's important, the fact that they're listing it means that it happens a lot, or
This
at
is
least
it.
enough that they want you to be aware of it. So, like, put that away in your brain when you're reading stuff like that.
Absolutely agree. If it's listed, it's listed for a reason. And I do think like what you said about it's a reflection more of the environment, the working environment. It also shows great self-awareness for an organization to list those things. I really appreciate it, but like you said, I think it's the heading is incorrect. I think that needs a bit of an edit.
Hmm. Let's move on. Next section: education and experience. So this is bullet points again. Degree or diploma in marketing, communications, or a related field, or equivalent experience. Minimum 1 to 2 years of experience in marketing coordination, sales support, or a related role. Strong proficiency in the Microsoft Office suite, Word, PowerPoint, Excel. Experience with design software, e.g. Canva or Adobe Illustrator, is an asset. Solid understanding of marketing fundamentals and sales support functions. Strong organizational and time management skills to handle competing deadlines.
Mm.
Must be able to read, write, and communicate effectively in English. Must have reliable transportation. ability to stand, walk, and move samples or materials during events/trade shows, able to lift up to 10 pounds. And then there's a little kind of rider section that says working conditions, must be comfortable walking or standing for extended periods during sample prep, trade shows, or customer events. Occasional travel may be required for trade shows, events, or customer meetings. What do you think about that?
That's interesting. I love equivalent experience listed. I think that that's super
Mhm.
important in this day and age, like to always go for that. 1 to 2 years of experience to me is in line with, I mean, I would go as far as to say, I know that they need a certain level of experience, but like 1 to 2 years as a coordinator, I would imagine you would be ready for the next role, the progression of your role. So like 0 to 2 years for me. I know it's such a tiny little thing, but then you're saying, but Jen, like if they have years of experience, they have 0 years of experience. I totally get that. But again, this is a coordinator role. So they graduated and then they did 2 years as a marketing coordinator somewhere else, and then they're coming to you as a marketing coordinator as well. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's got to be a little bit of leeway. This is not rocket science. They can learn how to do this job on the job. So I think you got to give people just a little bit of space there for being like net new to what they're doing, especially if they do have a degree. It's time for them now to put theory into practice, and that's okay. So yeah, you were right about the software. Like they're listing that as like the software, the tech stack or whatever that they're using. They mentioned time management here, but to me, like they already talked about that a little bit ish in the soft skills. Like we already know that they're going to require that. It's kind of it's a given. And yeah, everything else, like I guess it makes sense for the role. They're going to go to trade shows. They're going to have to like drive or have transportation. If it's a company where all of their products are, in English, they're going to have to be able to write and read. They're not saying that you have to be, again, like anything super brilliant with it. You just have to be able to do it. Yeah. So that to me, nothing crazy. I can't fault them too much in that, except to say that the years of experience I would just be a little bit more lenient with. What about you?
Yeah, I thought similarly with this. This you're right that this is very much a job that anyone can kind of learn on the go. So I probably wouldn't have said 1 to 2 years experience as a marketing coordinator is necessary. I think that I probably would have said it will be considered an asset if you have 1 to 2 years experience in a manufacturing environment
Yeah,
or in a
right. Yeah.
production environment. Yeah, because this is clearly an organization that is like it's a production organization. They produce physical things, and the one thing that stuck out to me in that was the statement about you must be able to stand, walk, move sample materials, and lift up to 10 pounds. To me, that says this is an ISO organization. They have very kind of strict health and safety compliance practices. They probably have like a dedicated health and safety team with like a rotating chair. Like it's all very formalized, very institutionalized. And again, manufacturing environment, right? That makes sense. So they kind of called that out. That tells you a little bit about the environment that you'll be working in. It's likely going to be very structured, at least in the production space. Maybe not in sales and marketing. Um, Sales and marketing people, they can be different. But this will be a structured environment, and there will be a lot of like, at 12:45, we're doing this. At
Yeah.
1:05, we're doing this. At 1:23 and a half, we're doing that. That's just how manufacturing orgs are. So I thought it was pretty good, except for that little thing like, who cares if they have 2 years experience as a marketing coordinator?
Exactly. I agree. Because like I said, they should be looking at progression at that point. You also said something really interesting too. You're like marketing and salespeople are different. Marketing and salespeople are different from each other too. And this person is going to
Mhm.
have to learn how to collaborate with salespeople as we learn in the job posting. It's a different culture. It's its own little monoculture. So that's an important thing as well, is to kind of understand what that means, understand what it means to collaborate and work with salespeople. Salespeople are very, very unique. It's a certain type of disposition required to be a salesperson. So that's an interesting thing as well. But yeah, no, I totally agree. And one of the questions I was going to ask you is, because we know that this is a in-office position, 5 days a week in office required. And after reading through that, do you think that it needs to be an in-person role? My answer is yes to that, because sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're like, why is this an in-person role? That's so not cool. But for this one, to me, it reads as an in-person role. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. What's going to happen with this job? The person who gets this job, they're going to spend their day kind of like running around between the offices, which are, above the manufacturing facility or something. Like a lot of organizations, excuse me, that have a physical plant and capital assets, they just have office space carved out, above like the floor, or maybe in a separate building if it's a larger campus. This person's going to be running back and forth between like the production lines to talk to like a line operator or like a director of ops or like a production manager and be like, hey, why is this like that? Somebody over in sales needs to know. And then they'll like run their butt back to the office and be like, well, Jimmy said this about that, and it's this way because of that. Like, that's going to happen for sure. Like, this is a marketing and coordinator, which, I think that they probably should have put in here somewhere. Like, they're not going to. And I can tell that the person who wrote this this post is not like a person with a public sense of humor. They could have put in this post somewhere, you will be the official gopher for 2 business units.
Absolutely. And we will buy you a whatever Fitbit to track your steps, because you're going to hit all your goals. You're going to close all your rings in this job. I agree. It does read a little bit gopher, but I do appreciate the job posting. Yeah.
And if it were me, I would put the Fitbit thing in the benefits section.
Right.
Under benefits, healthcare, dental, vision, Fitbit, because y'all going to get your steps in.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's the end of the job post.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about money. Put on your HR salary band kind of hat. What do you think this job is worth, knowing that it is, Canada, it's in office, and it's in a small community that's still in Peel region, but ain't downtown Toronto? What do you think?
My guess for the range is somewhere between 55 to 70,000. That's my best guess. What about you?
You were close. You were close. So the range that they posted was 50 to 55 a year, CAD, of course. That's the range that they posted.
50 to 55. That's the range?
That's the range.
Okay.
That's the range.
That's a teeny tiny little range.
Yep. That is it's a little bit low from your perspective. Why do you think it's a little bit low?
For the reasons that you said. It's entry level, it's smaller town, the type of industry as well. I also think companies can post lower ranges like that when they think that they will get a lot of applicants. And anytime it's like a more entry level role, you are going to see a lot more applicants, because like we talked about, kind of anyone can do this role. So they don't have to pay a whole lot for it. Why I said 70 was because it's going to be a challenging role. This is going to be physically and mentally exhausting. And I don't think that, anyone should be paid 50,000. 50 to 55 is interesting to me, because everyone's going to want 55, but the company is likely going to try to start them at 50. So why not just put the salary for this role is $50,000. But that's my thought on it.
Yeah, there's certainly, with a range that narrow, it doesn't really suggest a lot of opportunity for negotiation, right? Like you don't have a lot of room to come in and say, well, hey, I've done A, B, or C value added thing, and it's going to improve your organization through this. How about 65? Like maybe behind closed doors, informally, that'll happen. But how many candidates would look at that and be like, maybe not? maybe not.
This is it. Is it turning candidates off? And though kudos to them, because in Ontario, I believe it's not required to post a salary range yet. So
Mm.
at least they're doing that. At least people can see what it is. Um, One thing too about salary posting salaries is that you can also get an idea of what your trajectory could look like at that organization. Meaning to me that if you are like a manager or more senior level position within that department, that I don't know, doesn't sound promising financially, uh, but I
Yeah.
don't want to like trash them too hard, but that's not a lot of money.
Yeah. I have a contrarian opinion on this. I actually
Yeah.
think the range is pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, and the reason why is that this is a small town. Like Aurora, small place, but it's still kind of close enough to appeal in the GTA that you're not out in the middle of nowhere. But housing is a little bit less expensive that far outside of the city, so your cost of living is going to be a little bit lower. And if I think about, for me, it was quite a long time ago, but if I had just come out of university, this is kind of my first job or maybe my second job, and I've got, I don't know, a couple of roommates. I'm just kind of living life. I'm having a good time. Am I going to be okay with 50 or 55 to start with? Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's okay. Like, I wouldn't be there forever. I would be looking at this
Yeah.
as, this is like a starting point. I'll get some experience. Maybe I'll get promoted. And I'll keep on kind of like networking, resident, doing like that whole thing, and just learn something about the manufacturing industry and kind of carry on, call it a day. But to start with, yeah, if I was in my 20s, sign me up. I'd do it.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I don't know Ontario. For listeners, I'm in BC. I'm on Vancouver Island, so a little bit different. But I also think that like if you're going to pay me $50,000 to be like a gopher, I have a limited bandwidth to do this. I have a limited time span. If you're going to pay me $70,000 to be a gopher, Bob's your uncle. I'll do that for a lot longer than I will for 50,000. So that's also a little bit of my perspective. But you raised a good point. So would you apply for this role?
If I was in my 20s, I probably would. I
Yeah.
probably would. I've always really enjoyed jobs that gets you out from behind your desk. You go and you talk to people and you run around. Like, I've always been a little bit fascinated with manufacturing environments too. So for me, like, I would probably spend a lot of time hanging out in the production line, instead of like in my office or at my cubicle or whatever, with the sales and marketing people. Like, I'd probably be hanging out with the people who are operating like the presses.
Yeah. Yeah. Good experience for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So that's, the job posting in its entirety, thinking about the whole thing, kind of nuts to bolts. What would you give this? Like, what's your score out of 10 for this posting?
I liked this job posting. I think it was honest. I think that a couple little tweaks here and there would make it even better. I think, like you mentioned, it was clearly written by someone who understands the nature of the role. I would probably give it. I'm trying to think of what was missing as well. Like it didn't talk about accommodations for the interview, which I think are
Mhm.
important because you just have to be. I understand that it's a physical job. It mentions that, but that doesn't mean that there aren't people who could still do it and maybe have invisible things that might restrict them from being able to just participate in the interview fully. So I would have liked to have seen something that talks about how to accommodate you in the interview process at the very least. But I would say I would give it, I'm usually more generous. So I would probably give it like a 7.5 maybe. I liked it. What about
Yeah.
you?
I'm in about the same ballpark with an asterisk.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would, the job posting as it's written, It's pretty clear, it's pretty succinct. There's not a lot of fluffy stuff that's irrelevant. Like there is a little bit in that soft skills section. That was kind of, we talked about that. Like that could have been different to be better. So it was to the point. That was good. But there are some missed opportunities here. There
Mhm.
was nothing in this job posting about really like organizational or employer branding. Like there was nothing convincing me to join this organization because the organization is doing like really interesting things, or
Yeah,
they have a
there's nothing about
purpose.
the culture there. There's
Yeah,
nothing. Yeah.
that's missing, and that's a missed opportunity. For some people, maybe it doesn't matter, but I've always felt that you will have a much better shot at attracting the best of the best if you can at least describe purpose in a way that gets people who kind of share your values, people that you want to be there, excited. So that was completely non-existent. That was for me like a huge missed opportunity. Another thing that was a little bit off for me about this post was the missing sense of the organizational structure.
Mhm.
So I really like it, and it's such a small detail, but I really like it when in job posts they have that line that's like, you'll be reporting to the manager of X or the director of Y. That gives you a sense of where your place in the org is and who your mentors can be, right? Because mentorship, especially for an entry level job for someone who's young, just getting into the labor market, it's pretty important. It's a pretty big deal. So, like, not kind of calling that out and really describing, at least passively, what those opportunities are, mm, kind of a miss for me. Overall, I would give this one a 6 out of 10. And the asterisk is if they'd included those two things, it would have been like an 8, maybe an
Yeah.
8.5, maybe a 9. Like it was pretty solid other than just those missing things.
This is interesting point. I think you're making me bring mine down a little bit now, if I'm even allowed to do that, because you mentioned something very interesting. It doesn't identify who they report into, which to me, there's no reason not to include that. I think it
Mm,
should always be included. And when they don't, it could indicate that they don't know yet, which is
mm,
not great. I've been in that situation, hired on, and it's kind of changing as you're walking through the door, and that's not great. It could not be that. They could very well know who it is, but if they do, they should put that, because I think for all the reasons that you named, it's really important. The part about not mentioning anything about like the purpose or anything else about the company, to me, that is very telling. They're telling you that their culture is bland. Like, the job is what it is. It reads as bland. The fact that this is a marketing position and they're not marketing the company, selling it to you in any way, shape, or form, is like, what? Like you said, missed opportunity. So it shows to me as well that they're not going to have a lot of opportunity for creativity, to have a sense
yeah.
of humor, like you mentioned. Like, it's going to be corporate, it's going to be bland. It is going to be pretty much what you're reading on the paper. And so know that, like we said, every job posting is telling you a story. So you've got to read the full story and in between the lines as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so I guess I would adjust mine to like, I would actually go a full point down from like a 7.5-ish to a 6.5. And this is why it's really important to have these different perspectives, to work together when you're building these job descriptions, job postings, because there are always gaps, there are always blind spots. So you gotta like tease that out a little bit for a really great job posting. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Roast the Post, the story behind the bullet points. If you got something out of today's breakdown, whether it helped you decode a job posting, rethink how you write one, or just confirm that you're not imagining the chaos out there, make sure you mash that subscribe button and share this with your friends. And if you've got a job posting you want us to roast, the good, the bad, or the please help us understand what this even is, send it our way. We love listener submissions. Hit up the link in the show notes for more. Thanks for hanging out with us. See you next time.